Well, hello, everybody. This is Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. And I am here today to talk about the Cancer new moon that will be exact on July the 5th. It'll be July the 6th in some places, but we'll look at that astrology in a moment. But before I dive into the Cancer new moon, I will say that I'd ask you to subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. If you don't like one of my videos and feel the need to give me a thumbs down, I send you a big hug. If you also feel the need to listen to my new political series with Erica Robinson, and come on there with some personal criticisms about one of the candidates, which are not factually based, then I will clap back. So, but I give you a hug as well. Now, Erica, just a quick one on those. If you're not into politics, don't watch them. We're going to do charts and cards in black and white because Erica's black and I'm white, and she does cards and I do charts mostly. But anyway, we're going to mix it, and we're going to go over um, our kind of pools and the astrology that we talked about in the first video in the light of the debate when we meet again next Tuesday. But I think you'll find there's a few things that we were more spot on with than others. And then we're going to talk about the nature of the divination, prediction, and the like. All right. So anyway, back to the astrology. So you'll learn something about that too from people who've been doing it for a long time. Okay, so I pulled a card for this Cancer new moon. And first of all, the Cancer new moon is on July the 5th, 2024 in New York or Washington, D.C., Eastern time, that is 6:57 p.m. at 14 degrees of Cancer. So we're going to look at that, the aspects the new moon makes, and as usual, I pulled a card for it, and we'll look at the symbols and the numbers. So here we have, this is the card I pulled, the King of Cups from the Light Seers Tarot. Okay, I'll let you just soak up that image. And while I hold the image up, I will read you from the Light Seers Tarot about this card. So the upright meaning, and I pulled it upright, is this is a card of emotional balance, creativity, the unconscious, someone friendly and wise, and diplomacy. And the affirmation for this card is my heart holds deep wisdom and love, and I use it to connect and lead. Now, she talks about the cards in her book and the website. This is the King of Cups sitting calmly, closing his eyes and reaching for his singing bowl. When something unexpected comes into his awareness, something that would normally shake another person's composure and send them into a state of stress or anger, this king is able to regulate his emotions through his peaceful meditative state. He knows that his emotions are the key to his intuition and to his successful leadership. And he asks you to find this regulation and balanced peace in your life. So the message from this card is to find a balance between your mind and your heart and practice outward displays of kindness, compassion, and love as a way to regulate your own inner peace. I would say practice kindness, compassion, and love to yourself and outward displays as well. So if you are in a situation where you need to navigate tumultuous energies, draw on his example and find a grounded flow of serenity and stability. Do what you need to do in order to find this peace. Meditate, get to yoga class, spend some time amongst the trees, weekly downtime, boxing class for me, my daily walks, all of these things help me keep in balance. Now, I find this really kind of the perfect card, for the new moon as well, but for where we are at in our collective growth and evolution. I have talked a lot on my blog and other places about how we are moving into this quantum realm of balancing heart and mind. And is that what they said? The heart and mind, mind and heart? Yeah. Mind and spirit, if you like, as well. No, sorry, mind and heart, but also physical and spirit, empiricism and intuition. We are moving into this big flip of time where we realize that everything is both wave and particle, and how we respond to chaos is how we can remain in balance and create from that balanced state. And some of you know as well that I have also, he's in my Amazon store, by the way, which is always in the description. I'm reading this book with a book club, and we today are looking at the science of balancing that system, the heart and mind, which is connected by the polyvagal, by the vagus nerve. And so this is polyvagal theory. It's kind of the groundbreaking therapeutic model, but it applies to everything, including astrology and what we put out there and the language we use. So let's look at this new moon and talk about why I think this card and this message is so important. Well, hey, it's a Cancer new moon. Cancer is a water sign. Cups is the water element, and Cancer is the sign of the crab. Pulls down its shell, pulls its pincers around it in a place of protection when it's triggered. Fear, the flight, fear, flight, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, my brain's not working with that one today. But also it is the primary sign, to my mind, of that self-care, of coming into that balanced state within and making sure you're doing that self-care and that self-love. So, there's that. But we'll talk more about everything else, about why I think this is so important. I do want to talk about why the message of the card to, do all those things, the meditation, the downtime, the practice and re-practice, so that this coming into this central calm nervous system state is so important, as he's talking about in Mind Magic in chapter 5 that we're looking at today, is because, and it's important for where I'm recording this. I'm recording this, we're on the 27th, June the 27th. So we are 8 days out from this new moon. As I record this, Saturn is stationing retrograde at 19 degrees 25 minutes of Pisces, and Neptune is stationing retrograde at 29 degrees 55 minutes of Pisces too. And I did a whole video on this. This is like a tidal wave, but Pisces is a sign of chaos, and it's good chaos, and it's the chaos from which we're born. It's the amniotic fluid, but it's also that kind of chaos that breaks down as well. Now, I think this is important to talk about because we had the first presidential debate last night in the US. And I know a lot of people in foreign lands watched it too. Everybody thinks it was a disaster for Biden. I actually disagree. I think this will emerge just fine. But he didn't make a good performance. And to quote his own words in an event he's actually at today, he said, "I don't walk as easily as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong, and I know how to do this job. And he sounded really strong because he wasn't being gish galloped by a liar, basically. Look up gish galloping. I think he was doing this consciously to confuse Joe Biden, to be quite honest. Anyway, it has most effect on somebody, or it has a lot of effect on people with a stutter, because then they can't get those thoughts out when they're being gish galloped by all this barrage of lies. Not one thing he said was the truth. Anyway, back to this new moon. So why I think it's important is because Saturn was stationing retrograde on the night of the debate last night, right on Biden's bottom of his chart, his IC, his nadir, his innermost part, and it kind of stalled him in his tracks, and his energy was low. Apparently, he also had a head cold. I don't know if that's true, but this was doing a bit of a number on him. That doesn't mean he is always like that. All right. This is the station retrograde. It's a tough one. My energy's lower. And I'm usually full of energy. And we are feeling this tidal wave of change. And that's difficult. We do not like change. Pisces is kind of chaos. It's two fish swimming in opposite directions, which is funny because we have a Cancer new moon. But anyway, so I just wanted to talk about that as we lead up to this new moon. Saturn stations retrograde on the 29th and Neptune on July the 2nd. So by the time of the new moon, both will have moved retrograde, but Neptune is still at the station degree. Saturn's only moved 2 minutes. So this is tough. We are in this, the moon is losing light. We are going into the dark. This is also a Cancer new moon, which, Cancer new moons usually have are out of bounds. So I actually forgot to look at that. Moon conjunct Sun. I will just go and tell you how far out of bounds the moon is on this. So very emotional anyway. So we're leading up to this. Right, okay, yeah, the moon is actually at 28 degrees, 12 minutes north on the new moon, which is way out of bounds. And we've got these two big energies changing direction in the sign of Pisces. So this is just full of emotion, full of things that can unbalance that emotional state to go back to the King of Cups. Okay. So, it's things that throw us off. It's things that uh, throw us into the freeze, fight, fleet response, or freeze, fight, flee, fight, flight, all those things. Anyway, you know that I think most people are aware of those. The other one is fawn, is fawning as well. These are responses when our nervous system is unbalanced. So I started there. It's not just about the debate, it's everything. There's going to be a lot that can throw your nervous system out of balance. Okay, so it's really important to heed the message of the King of Cups, which is one of my primary messages anyway. Okay, so back to the new moon. I'll talk about all of this in a minute, but as you can see, the new moon is at 14 degrees of Cancer, almost exactly by 3 minutes opposing Ceres. So I'll talk about that. It's also actually making a cardinal T-square to the moon's nodes, the moon's own nodes. So it's not only a new moon, but it's a new moon at the moon wobble. The sun has just squared the nodes at 11 degrees Cancer. And moon wobble is also a time of wobbly disturbance. So this is a really kind of pressurized new moon with a lot of emotion, a lot of chaos. Now, the other thing I will be talking about as well, so I'm not going to, I'll just talk about the aspects and then stop sharing this screen. Oh, my mouse isn't working today. You can see I've drawn these black lines on. Well, these are also connected by these oppositions. This is a mystic rectangle, which, despite its name, is not always the easiest aspect because it is made up of oppositions. Juno opposing Saturn, which again stationed retrograde just on the 29th, so is still pretty still. Nessus as well is there since Nessus stationed retrograde at the same degree. And then we have Pallas Athena over here at 19 Scorpio. Look at how close these are, 19, 19. And Mars in Taurus at 19 degrees Taurus. So I'll talk about what all of that means as well. But the key to a mystic rectangle, of course, is integration of all the energies. And you know me, I'm not really a predictive astrologer. I'm like, how can we work with these energies to move forward? So first of all, the number. It's 14 degrees. So this is a 14.5, which happens to be my life path. I'm a 14.5, so I love this number. But this is a number that is very, very strong. It's associated, of course, with the numbers of 1 plus 4, so new beginnings. 4 is a stability, but 5 is a number of change. Okay, so 14.5 is a number about achieving balance, harmony, temperance, and prudence, which is why I focus all the time on finding my balance of mind and heart. Okay. This can be a number that can bring great change and be the leader, the harbinger of change in many ways, and bring great fortune if they find that balance, harmony, temperance, and prudence within. Because they need to, 14.5 needs to learn independence, self-initiative, unity, and justice. In other words, finding that balance within and then creating from that inner space. All right. So 14.5 is just one of those numbers that is a very strong number. Okay, but it's one that requires that caution, that tuning in. So not only is the Cancer saying that, so is the numbers. So, but it's really about coping with adaptability and having to tap into your inner resources. All right. And it took me quite a long time as a 14.5 person to learn that, but I have, and I know that's the only way forward. Okay. So then we'll look at the astrology. So let me talk about that. Well, first of all, is a Cancer new moon. The moon is in her own sign, and as I mentioned, way, way out of bounds. And new moons are new beginnings, but it's also a 3-day no moon period of in the dark. So it's one for planting seeds in that dark. It's not one for launching on the launching into something straight away. This is something about getting into that inner space, really kind of doing your meditation, dreaming, to go back to this card, look at the crown over his head, finding this intuitive knowing of what you're intending and what you want to create, because Cancer is also the sign of birth. It's the sign of the womb. So what are you birthing? But you won't actually start to do so when until the moon starts to gain light, which is about a day and a half after the new moon. So this is at 6:57 p.m. Eastern on Friday, July the 5th. So let's say it's Sunday, things will start to move forward. Sunday the 7th or the 8th, Monday the 8th, you can really start to move forward. But really focus on this self-care and heart and balance. Now then, I mentioned that the moon is actually opposing Ceres in Capricorn, and Ceres, of course, is our needs and our unmet needs. And this, that we have the both lights, the moon and the sun, facing Ceres in the sign of Capricorn. And it's a repeat of something I've been talking about over and over and over and over about creating the structures of your life so that they meet your needs, not expecting the world to just meet your needs without any effort from the inside out. And then the fact that this new moon is square to the nodes by only less than 4 degrees, about 3.5 degrees, is that point of chaos and change. This is the south bendings. They're both moving towards the south node. This is a release of something, but this is stepping into that nodal axis of Libra and Aries. The south node in Libra is leaving behind the codependent things in seeking harmony and balance within and knowing it has to come from the inside out. And the Aries North Node really is about finding that core self. So the whole message of just the new moon itself is really one of consciously choosing to balance that vagus nerve, that central nervous system, okay, within. And you can find exercises on YouTube for polyvagal yoga, things that help you to come into the balance. Breathing can help you do it. Meditation can. Some people like me need things that expend the energy and then to go and sit afterwards. The guy that wrote this Mind Magic book, he is a neuroscientist and he studied it, and he talked about neurodivergent people needing this short blast of energy and a more guided, very short meditation. We are generally not the type who can do this kind of sitting, meditating for 2 hours kind of thing, for example. So find the practices that work for you, that balance your central nervous system within. This is really the whole message of this new moon, because we really are in this time of tremendous change. And, you know, the new moon is square the nodes, an opposing Ceres, forming a cardinal grand square, which is forcing new beginnings and change. And that's unsettling. And we've got Saturn and Neptune stationing retrograde, and the times around about a few days either side of those stations. So again, June the 29th, July the 2nd, are also this time of feeling this chaos. I've seen so much catastrophizing lately in general, and it is this energy. And I'm not going to say it's easy, but this book does prove that you can actually choose to see things differently and respond differently. Okay, let's go to the mystic rectangle. Well, a mystic rectangle always sounds absolutely beautiful, all right? And it's not the worst aspect, but it's complex. It is ultimately a helpful pattern. It's also been termed a righteousness angle configuration, apparently, as well. A righteousness rectangle by the Hubers. It contains 2 sextiles, 2 trines, and 2 oppositions. Okay, and the 2 red oppositions are sextile to each other and surrounded by the trines. So you can see them here. This is the 2 sextiles from Mars to Saturn, And then the trines from Saturn to Pallas Athena and Juno to Mars. And so it is a little bit ambivalent and dualistic, okay, this aspect as well, even though ultimately it's a little bit positive in nature. It's another of these configurations or aspects where really you have to kind of lean into it to really kind of work with it. So the first thing I'll say about this mystic rectangle, oh, sorry, I was pointing at things that you can't see. Let me show you quickly again the aspects. So here's the sextiles. Okay, Juno to Pallas Athena, Mars to Saturn, and Nessus. And then we have the trines from Juno to Mars and Pallas Athena to Saturn, and then the oppositions. Okay, so it's a bit of a complex pattern, but integration is the key. So first thing I'll say about this mystic rectangle is that it's in earth and water. So it's very physical. It's got this energy of wading through mud. So this new moon is not an easy one. That's why you have to do your self-care and tune into this King of Cups. But it is forcing change. And so let's have a look at some of these aspects in this mystic rectangle. We have Saturn just stationed retrograde at the same degree as Centaur Nessus, who reveals intergenerational abuse and trauma patterns and things, both collectively and individually. Saturn in Pisces has been a lot about our self-limiting beliefs and our can'ts, and Saturn is pretty much still at a standstill. This is a bit like pushing a lot of water against a dam. And it's like forcing the change, forcing you to change your perspective and your faith and belief and how you have your faith and trust and belief in a system. And Saturn and Nessus are both opposing Juno. Juno is the partnership asteroid in Virgo. Juno also represented, she was the goddess of women and children. And we can see that women's rights are under threat from the Supreme Court and from Donald Trump in this country, but everywhere. But it's also in Virgo. Juno in Virgo, to my mind, is showing us that our most important relationship, first of all, is our holistic relationship with ourselves from the inside out, and saying that you know, we need to look after our mind, body, spirit, health to be of practical use for the collective, which is Pisces. So that's one way of looking at it, and that's the way I would look at it. Then we've got Pallas Athena, the creative intelligence asteroid, the wise owl who can see into the dark and see patterns. She's a strategist, okay? She can do mind mapping and so on. She's in the sign of Scorpio, those dark, intense waters of deep motivations. Pallas Athena is able to look into the motivations of what's really going on here and look into those depths of the psyche, both for ourselves and in others' motivations. And the opposition to Mars in Taurus is one of Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Mars in Taurus is saying take action based on your solid rooted values. So if we kind of bring all that together, this is really kind of saying, you know, to kind of buckle up, really kind of buckle up into that internal space, okay? Do your self-care, really step into singing, that's the singing bowl, kind of creating your own music, really creating from that balanced mind, body, spirit place to go back to the card yet again. this is one about choosing to nurture positive emotions. This is not about spiritual bypassing, but it's about stepping into choosing to find a way to balance that nervous system and see things in a different light. Okay. Nurturing it from within is one of those messages. Again, I know it's something I talk about all the time, but that's because the astrology tells me this is where we're at. Okay. So I think that's it for the astrology. Despite it being a big new moon, I want you to know that the emotions and the kind of feeling of chaos and shifting sands and change and deception and lies and wool over our eyes is high, but the answer is within, okay, is really within, about staying away from situations that feel emotionally manipulative, or choosing to be able to find a way to step back and see them from a distance and see how the manipulation has been going on. For example, I talked about gish galloping. I honestly, I ask you, I challenge you to look it up. If I kind of assume most of you kind of are on the side of we know who the best person for the job is, but Gish Gallop is a rhetorical technique, okay, in which a person in a debate attempts to overwhelm their opponent by providing an excessive number of arguments and often lies as well. So the Gish Gallop is designed to drown you in a deluge of distortions, deflections, and distractions. And that's exactly what he did on the debate last night, Trump. So don't let anybody Gish Gallop you, because it can happen not just in a debate stage, but in talking to other people. And things you read online as well could be gish galloping at the moment. So there's a lot of it out there. The propaganda, the kind of delusion, and the fire hose of distortions and deflections and distractions. There's so much of it out there. Don't let it happen to you. All right, so now we'll go onto the symbols, and that will be it for this one. Okay, so the Sabian symbol, but don't forget to subscribe, leave me a thumbs up. I give you a big hug if you feel like you have to do a thumbs down. I don't know why people do that. It's kind of weird. Obviously need a hug, a Cancerian hug, so have one from me. So the Sabian symbol, we always go up, by the way. So it's 14 degrees. We go up to Cancer 15, is in a sumptuous dining hall. Guests relax after partaking of a huge banquet. Cancer is feeding, by the way, as well. And it's feeding your soul as well as your stomach. It's feeding your needs. And Ceres is facing it, saying, feed your needs. So the keynote, Dane Rudyard's keynote for the Sabian symbol is the need that exists at an early stage of human growth to materialize the concept of fulfillment. He says, this is about, he says, we are hypnotized today by the ideal of physical abundance. Perhaps physical abundance is less mind-haunting than deprivation, and there may at times be a need to turn to superficial things for self-strengthening. He says this is the negative way mentioned in another symbol. Through satiety, a person learns to appreciate and desire asceticism. After months of boredom, the modern teenager in an ultra-modern progressive school is often ready to accept disciplined work. So what's he saying really here? He's saying the mind yearns to translate what it has seen in purely physical terms. This is perhaps the keynote of American life, the materialization of the spiritual. Well, I think he's basically kind of saying turn away from, feeding yourself with the news, disaster movies and things like that, and do more of this King of Cups kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go to John Sandbacher's symbols. The Omega symbol, he said, is a transforming and inspired degree, is a man in an air-conditioned spacesuit crossing the desert. Okay, well, if what are you if you are not in an air-conditioned spacesuit? You are in your own bubble, you are in your cancer shell, you are protected by those pincers, looking after your inner nervous system and balance. Okay. He says you can be at home wherever you go, can make yourself comfortable anywhere, and find nourishment even in the most unsupportive of places. Rather than cocooning yourself in the familiar, you need to strike out on your own into unknown territory, and can do this if you remember that you will always find what you need to support you in your evolutionary process. The Chandra symbol for this degree is a boarded up doorway that leads to another realm. He says the spacesuit provides a way of entering into another realm, just as the boarded up doorway keeps us out of it. We want to explore this new territory, but the sign Cancer loves its security, its safety, its familiar surroundings. And so there is conflict here. Should I go or should I stay? But even if you stay there, there will always be that nagging urge to go. The doorway's always there, waiting for you to remove the boards and enter. The need here is to proceed slowly enough that you feel comfortable, and to take with you, if possible, some means of support. By balancing, I'm going to say by balancing inside, you can take yourself with you. Eventually, the Cancerian tenacity will carry you through, and great discoveries will be made. So, oh, I like his Azoth symbol. He says that's a man seeing through veil after veil of illusion. I think if you, overall, reading the symbols, the number, the astrology, the card, if you do that going within, balancing your central nervous system, really protecting your nervous system, really kind of tuning into your intuition and what you desire, you will ride the wave of this, and you will not be thrown off by the chaos in the world right now. So much love to you. I will see you next time.